Alright, so I read an article about how Putin wants rubles for his oil. So let me tell you some of the problems that, well, it seems kind of dumb. Okay? Seems kind of dumb. The whole idea is that just like China and Russia, the West, they have stockpiles of rubles. And that one of the things about communists is that they sometimes fail to understand the economics of a gold and guns and butter backed currency. It's like in America, the ruble is basically a piece of paper, and that potentially the West could extrapolate lots of oil for a bunch of paper. And that the reality is that more than likely Russia's just been pumping out rubles, and that they probably need all of that shit to be destroying because they've diluted their currency. And so right now might be a perfect opportunistic time to use back channel ways to be extrapolating oil for pieces of paper. Don't miss out on your opportunities of taking dumb bitch brain fucking dumb communists and making them look dumb. Those people are dumb. One of the things about being KGB agents is that those people eventually, over time, they end up suffering from not really an official psychiatric condition, but it's just because everybody that becomes bitch brain usually is in some secret, bitch brain plagues white supremacy, bitch brain plagues satanic S&Ms, bitch brain plagues communism, where those people, they get in charge and that they literally start to think in diametric ways to logic. And that for Putin to be wanting everybody to be paying in rubles right now, when all of these economic sanctions are happening, that's like bitch brain. Like literally right now he should be asking for like gold bars or rice or commodities or something that has some sort of stock or butter aspect. Nobody's gonna give Putin like weapons for oil. But the reality is that gold has oil has a crossover aspect to real established currency, and that right now he's going to be expecting like rubles, which nobody really like views those as anything. They're not ever backed. They're so diluted and they're so shitty that essentially, most of the countries should probably just group together all their like reserve rubles and should just buy up as much oil as possible with those pieces of paper, because in the end you might as well get some free oil out of the stupid bitch brain that's still holding on to his last little lingering bits of power. I mean, that's it. That's how I would approach it in those ways. I mean, he's got vast oil reserves. It'd be like going to the sod and being like, I noticed you have this oil. Here's these pieces of parchment paper. And that he, in ways, like expects. Well, I mean, he takes America bucks. He does, because those are real. Those are backed in their Islamic, like. It's kind of like how these like libertarians talk about like backing your money. It's like the whole idea is that our aircraft carriers that we sell are worth money. It's kind of like collateral. It's kind of like your house is equal. It's kind of like these rich people when they say they have billions of dollars. Yeah, they have $25 million estates. That's $25 million. And it's like we have aircraft carriers and helicopters and stuff that are worth money, that they have a future that could be sold to a country. So there's a worth to that stuff. And that Putin's potentially, he has like a guns and butter aspect to his ruble, but he dilutes the money so much. It's like the United States destroys money. We destroy money to be keeping. See, you have like a whole amount of money, a finite amount. And that if you keep printing without destroying it, then the dollar itself becomes worth less, because there's a finite amount of worth. And so essentially what back the amount of gold and commodities and weaponry that the Pentagon has is equal to this amount of money. And that then if you start printing beyond that amount, then it makes each dollar worth 98 cents, then 95 cents, then 90 cents. If you keep printing that money, that dollar becomes worth less because there's more of them. So we destroy money. We destroy money. And that this is why, in lots of ways, the governments, this is probably what the problem is. This is probably what its thought process is to be bringing in the money that everybody has outside of Russia to be destroying, because it's just so horribly diluted. And so that is where these are opportunistic times that in ways it would kind of go diametric to the economic sanctions, but with the rise in oil prices, you know, the thing about it is that you can sit there and you can just make fucking stupid ass pedal banger your bitch. Because in reality, he'll have economists that know that their ruble is too diluted, and that's probably the reasoning. But right now, you know, their path to building worth back into their ruble, they probably should be selling or backing, like the Saud does, as a reserve oil. They should pump it out or drill and tap it, and they should place it as a worth that backs their money. Because essentially people are just going to be getting free oil because those rubles are worth nothing, and that their established price really arbitrarily doesn't really mean anything. It's like all the Western countries probably don't actually view their reserves that they have in rubles as much of anything, because it's a shit fiat currency that really isn't stable at all. It to include that in your worth in your country or whatever is negligible, basically. And so to unload that stuff back on them might potentially just, if you just cut out that be even being a worth in your country and just having it be something that is just, it's just having it be something that you have, a bunch of pieces of paper, and then just cutting that out as having any value. There might be a potential for a Western restructure in economics that excludes rubles as being anything that the country has as worth, and that with that it becomes, that stuff becomes unrecognized in ways, and then it becomes paper that you trade for oil, and that then essentially you can bring that oil and then your paper turns into something tangible, and then you can reestablish what you lose by not recognizing your worth in ruble. And that then it gets replaced in worth in oil. And so, and that in the end, that's the kind of stuff that would probably actually benefit the West if they caveat that stuff in the right economic way. And then, in reality, Russia, this stuff will eventually taper off. Putin and his little pansiness will end up going back to his dumb little country. He will eventually. And then Russia's going to need to be counter diluting their currency. So this will play into a 5-year to 10-year like economic methodology or whatever that could potentially be beneficial to the issues that probably push a lot of this warmongering shit.